Hi, this is Nick Lowry at Windsong Dojo. I'm here today with my friend Kyle Sloan, and we're going to be taking a look at a little off-balance drill that was developed by a close friend of mine named Greg Abels. Now, Greg is a very creative fellow, and he took the fundamental form of moving kata that we use to base our Kihon activity out of in Aikido, and he figured out a way to apply it to Judo Kuzushi application, and it's pretty fascinating. I think it's amazing. To do this, we first need to understand what we're working with. We're working with the basic first segment of the walking kata forms, and we're going to have Kyle, if he just stands right here in the middle of this blue X and turns sideways, he's just going to go through this basic pattern with his feet of stepping, and he's stepping with a lead foot and a following foot, and he's keeping his knees bent, and he's just coming to this quadrant, coming back to neutral. Goes back to the back quadrant, back to neutral. Up to this quadrant, back to neutral, and back to that quadrant, and back to neutral. That's basically how the walking kata sets up. And these, you can think of these as evasion steps. You can think of these as just forward steps, exaggerating the angular quality of them slightly. But basically, they're how we walk forward and backward. Now we're going to have Kyle do that again, but this time I'm going to stand, in basic position with him, and just reading his body movement with my eyes. I want to keep my eyes basically focal point right about at the sternum. And as he takes off, I'm going to step with him and mirror his action as closely as I can. I'm reacting to his forward and backward steps. Good. And if you both know that little pattern, it makes it easier to pick that parallel function up. You're trying to get the feet hitting at the same time, the body's rising together, the body's falling together, and you're trying to keep the spatial condition the same. Now, in order to start applying this to creating a sense of Kuzushi with it, we're going to have Kyle get a hold of me in a standard gripping fashion. He can grab any way he likes. He can grab my wrists, he can grab the gi, he can grab any way he wants. It really doesn't matter too much. And he takes this, fairly normal judo kind of activity. And start with your feet neutral. My feet are neutral, your feet are neutral. And we take off into just walking together. And again, just holding the sense of that space. And I'm observing as we do this, and we're back to neutral. Let's do it one more time. I'm observing the activity in the hips and shoulders in particularly as he makes these stepping actions. And I'm just feeling through the gi and through his grips, the line of drive and the sensations that are going on. It's pretty subtle stuff, but you got to tune into it. Once you get a good feel for that, then you can do a couple of different things that are kind of interesting. As he takes a forward steps, for instance, I step off with him, but stretch it slightly, and you see his back heel come up slightly. Just by extending the step a little and stretching my center of gravity at the right moment, away from his slightly, we pitch him into off balance. Now in the neutral step, we just go back to neutral. He takes a back step, and I close him slightly. With no hands, I'm just working through his own gripping function. And we see how we put him slightly back, a little torque in his low back, his front foot starts floating off the ground. And again, I let off of this, and we come back to neutral. We do it in the other direction. I stretch him slightly, back to neutral, and I crowd him slightly. And it takes a little while to get the feel for this because we're not trying to do it too big. If I try to do this in a very exaggerated way, he takes off and I take way big step, he'll feel it coming and he'll actually put me into off balance. So this has to do with the timing of the action and the subtlety with which you can apply it. You have to be pretty slick to get this happening, but once it's happening with no hands like this, go ahead. Hey, and you can put him up on his toes like this fairly consistently, and he takes his back step, and he takes another back step. You can put him back on this fairly consistently. He can tell you, it's kind of sneaky. It creeps up on him, and because my hands aren't giving him a lot of signals, because they're not even touching him, then all the activity that's affecting him is coming straight from the center of gravity to his center of gravity, and it's causing a lot of issues. When we get our hands involved to actually do a little Kuzushi on top of that, we want to keep the hands open so that they're not gripping. And this is really different from normal judo. Normally I'd want to get a little grip, but if you get a grip, you're going to have to do activity of gripping down and then relaxing grip and doing all extra stuff. We just want to keep our palms open. And I work typically around his elbows like this. Let's take this hand down. So I work on the inside, the outside, the inside, up here, just with open palms. And on this side, here, here. And the hands will just change spontaneously and readily on the fly to help accentuate the activity that's coming from the center. So we're building a little process in which the hands don't want to interfere with the activity of creating Kuzushi. They only want to accentuate what's coming out of the center of gravity and the feet. So as we're moving, I just lightly touch him, just like I'm just barely putting pressure on him at all. Because what I want from my hands is not so much pressure as I want to be sensitive with him and feel what's going on. As he steps forward and I stretch him slightly, I can exaggerate that just by lightly touching at the elbow and lightly touching at the inside of the elbow here. As he steps back to neutral and I crowd him a little bit, the hands change. They weave over. This comes to the inside. This comes up more to the point of the shoulder just to exaggerate that crowding function. We come back to neutral. Off to the races we go. Again, a little touch here, a little touch here to keep him up. He goes back to neutral. And there we go. Little touch under the elbow. Small changes with the hands. And these don't have to be on the elbows, for instance. They could be right here on his shoulders. We could do the same activity. Here. Here. Here, pulling. And here, pushing. Yeah, so they could be all the way down at the wrist. We could be doing this here if we like. Here. Here. Just a little projection. A little drawing action. And a little projection. Boom. So anywhere in it, you could be grips at the sleeves. It really doesn't matter a whole lot. The activity of the hands just wants to stay light and fluid and open and touching at the right moments to create the sense of Kuzushi that you're after. And the sense of Kuzushi is being developed from the movement of the center of gravity in relation to his center of gravity. So that's the first of the walking series that Greg developed and that we've worked on together a while. And I think it's a beautiful form. Thank you.